Welcome, everybody, to The Stakes, brought to you by the Seneca Project. I am Tara Setmayer here with my co-founder and Seneca Project. Michelle Kinney with me. We are here to talk to you guys about what's at stake. And Michelle, I think something just happened. Was it a press conference?
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm trying to stream us to Instagram, and there's like this whole like backdoor thing that you have to do, and I've never done it before, so I just clicked it, and then it was like, sorry.
Anyway, that's all right. No worries.
We're all learning here together.
That's all right. We're all here together. That's what's most important. Michelle's pulling double duty as not only my co-founder of the Seneca Project, but she's also running the show tonight. So we give her some grace on that. It's all good. I'm actually happy to have her on screen with me because we're a dynamic duo and we're here together with you guys to talk about what we just saw. I'm sure most of you just watched President Biden's press conference. Of course, we watched it with bated breath. There was a lot riding on this. This has been an extraordinary 2 weeks in political history, really. I've never seen anything like this in my 30 plus years in politics. And this is really unprecedented in a lot of ways. And there's just so much on the line. So when we decided we needed to go live tonight, what were we going to call it? We're calling it The Stakes, because at the Seneca Project, we talk about constantly, part of our mission is not only to galvanize women and save democracy, but it's to make sure that voters understand what's at stake. The stakes, the stakes, the stakes. My husband is a character, and tonight for dinner, he cooks steaks because he was like, well, since you're doing a show called The Stakes, we're going to make steak tonight. I'm like, oh my God, hon. So
it's funny when I was trying to make the graphics for this earlier, I in my delirium of just having to do too many things.
Yeah.
One of the times I spelled it STEAKS, and I'm like, that's a different show.
Different show. I mean, we could talk about that. My husband's a master griller and really makes an unbelievable steak. So, I mean, he has a rub that he has made that's his own custom rub that he's working on with a fellow colleague of his to market, actually. So when that comes around, we could do that show. We'll do it The Stakes with him.
Steaks with the Stakes.
That's right, with his love rub. But anyway, there's a lot going on, and I'm so glad. Thank you for everyone who's joining us. I see people popping in the comments, and thank you so much for everyone who has supported us. The Seneca Project just launched a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago exactly, this past Tuesday, and it's been overwhelming. The support has been overwhelming, and we're just really, really grateful for everyone who has supported us, everyone who's bought the merch. We're still working on getting you guys the purple hats. We're trying to get an American manufacturer that does the purple, but all of the merch is on our website at senecaproject.us. You guys, the flags, the t-shirts, our white hats, it's really been humbling to see how receptive so many people have been to us targeting women. Michelle and I felt really passionate that this election cycle, that women were going to make the difference in this election. And so much is at stake for us as women. It's at stake, our democracy is at stake. It impacts everyone. But for women, it's literally life or death. So the Seneca Project was born, and we're here, and we're proud, and we welcome allies who have joined us in this effort. And, Michelle, I think we should start off before we get into the Biden presser, because there's a lot to talk about there. But I think we should introduce people to one of the things that we have been focusing on this week. One of our ads, our content is key, right? How we present it, how we message.
That's right.
Content is key. And a lot of people have not really been paying attention to what Donald Trump has been doing, what MAGA's doing, what their plans are for us, like Project 2025. It's literally written out in a freaking manifesto. It's almost 1,000 pages. And we put an ad out this week. It's called Pay Attention. And it's MAGA in their own words telling us what they think of women and Project 2025. Take a look at this.
Hold on. Sorry. Doing 5 things.
That's all right.
Okay.
We got it.
I think this video has made me rethink the 19th Amendment.
Will women have the right to vote tomorrow if you wave that magic Christian wand?
No.
A federal ban on abortion, ban mifepristone, ban stem cell research, and expand access to fertility awareness family planning methods.
If you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free.
If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry, it's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
These women are getting paid salaries to play for a league that, economically speaking, shouldn't exist.
Abortion's not health care. We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
It still gives me chills every time I see that. As many times as I've seen those things, I've heard the comments, it still gives me chills because they mean it.
Right. They do mean it. And it's something that I know Tara and I have been saying for a long time. I know a lot of people have. When they tell you what they plan to do, we have to believe them. And it's like the overturning Roe v. Wade, right? For how many decades they've been talking about doing that. They finally did it. They caught the car. That wasn't enough, right? They're doubling down. They're going further. They're planning to take away our rights to contraception, our rights to start a family with IVF. Surrogacy. I mean, my God, I think about, I have friends who've survived cancer, who aren't able to bear their own children, who are going through the process of surrogacy right now. And to think that that would be taken away from them because the government wants to tell us what we can do, what we can't do, how to start a family. I mean, it really is, it is sickening and it's scary. And another thing, I say a lot to Tara is that the most dangerous thing that we can do is to have a lack of imagination, because if you imagine it, they're already thinking it.
That's right. And planning it.
That's right. That's right. So, and that's why the stakes of this election could not be any higher for women, especially because as we've seen throughout history, when democracies fall, when democracies crumble, women are the most, or if not the first group of people to suffer the consequences.
That's right. We have Professor Ruth Ben-Ghiat on our advisory committee at the Seneca Project. We are thrilled to have her expertise on this. And if you've never read her book, Strong Men, I suggest everybody read it. It's required reading because it gives you perspective about the history of fascists and strong men in the 20th century and the moment we're in now. And she talks about this, about how women have been on the front lines pushing back against authoritarianism for the last century, and that they're also the first to pay a price.
Right.
Them and guess who else? The media, the free press. This whole thing that's going on with mainstream media piling on President Biden is it's very infuriating. They think that they're going to ingratiate themselves to Donald Trump if he were to win. And I've got news for them. They're going to be the first on the wall. All right. So they need to cut the shit.
The state will be the first to go.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yes.
and the list. Okay. So the Raw story had a scoop story, bombshell, I would say.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
That got overshadowed, by the way, because everyone's still on the, but he's old.
Right.
But go ahead.
George Clooney wrote an op-ed, which is obviously way more important. That there's this guy, I forget his name, Ivan something, and he is a former military guy in Michael Flynn's circle who has put together a list of 350 people, and he's unofficially been named Trump's Secretary of Retribution. And on this list of 350 people, now Raw Story was not specific. They didn't name any names because, security reasons, and I'm sure people are on the list don't entirely know that they're on it. I'm sure there's some who suspect it. But this list has journalists on it. Yeah. There were names from people who work for CNN. That was
not a shock.
Right. Not a shock. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how nice you are to him in your debate moderation, whatever, right? It's not going to matter. None of it's going to matter because if you are not a loyal and ardent supporter of Donald Trump and everything that he's doing, and you say, yes, King, wonderful King, you are wonderful. If you're not doing that, I mean, there's people at Fox, I would even say, could be in some danger, right? Yeah. Because it's not 100% all the time.
That's right. Like Steve Doocy or, anyone at Fox that would dare say anything against dear leader. It's the same thing with Project 2025. It's all about fealty, what they want to do. And the Heritage Foundation, now, people who have followed me for years know that I came from Republican world. I was a Republican for 27 years. And the Heritage Foundation was one of the premier think tanks. It was started by Ed Meese back after, in the 80s. And it was like the go-to. Now it's like the Ministry of Misinformation and Fascism. Now they're the authors of that. Was Kevin Roberts in our ad you saw talking about a second revolution will be bloodless if the left allows it. Like, what? These people have lost it, and they all have direct relationships to Donald Trump. Don't let anyone tell you or bullshit you that Donald Trump said, "Oh, I just allowed it. I don't know. I don't know anything about it."
Because Donald Trump has always been a bastion of honesty and truthfulness.
He's the most.
Oh no! Did we lose Tara? She just.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here still.
Rose for a second. Sorry.
Yeah. But Donald Trump has relationships with all of these people. They all worked for him. 81% of the authors of Project 2025 worked for Donald Trump, either directly for him or in his administration. 120 people, I think it is now, were involved in this thing. It's their manifesto. They're telling us what they want to do. And you just look at all of this and you go, guys, what the hell are we doing? President Biden said that tonight in the press conference in one of the questions he was asked, where he was impassioned about domestic policy and some of the things that were on the line. I mean, these are all questions that as Americans, we really need to think clearly about. I just don't know what the press is doing. It was legitimate to ask questions.
Sure.
After the debate, it was a disaster, admittedly, right? There's no bullshitting that.
As I thought everyone's making it out to be. Like, people are making it sound like you crawled out on stage and couldn't speak at all. But it was bad. Right?
It was bad. But what people aren't talking about is the polling in the immediate aftermath of the debate wasn't terrible. The bottom wasn't falling out. It was a couple percentage points here or there, and then the CBS poll had Biden beating Trump in Wisconsin and Michigan. Nobody talked about that. And then yesterday, Northeastern University, along with Harvard and Rutgers and University of Rochester, it was a big academic study, which is I take a little bit more stock in those than the normal polling, because there's a little bit more of an incentive in polling to kind of skew the results a little bit. But the academic studies, they're a little bit more neutral, in just my opinion. And this was a huge study. 13,000 people across 50 states. They did it in the immediate aftermath of the debate. And guess what? It said that there was virtually no movement away from Biden in the immediate aftermath from his supporters.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. But since then, because of the pile-on, sure, you're going to start to see movement, because all you hear repeatedly is like, he's too old, or people are leaving him, he can't do it, and blah, blah, blah. What do you think people are going to think? Well, I guess that's true. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I don't know. We're in really uncharted territory right now. I've never seen anything like this. And as a former Republican, where people fall in line and they don't have to fall in love like Dems, I cannot believe what's happening right now. Like, this is, I just can't. It's self-immolation.
There's part of me as a Democrat, I've been Democrat my entire adult life. The first election I ever voted in was Bush v. Gore. And so it's funny, right? And, I'm not, there's part of me that's not terribly surprised, right? By the piling on, needing to feel right, cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? Because I think that there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions and a lot of knee-jerk,
bedwetting,
statement making that's based out of fear, right? Which I think is valid. I think we're all terrified, not only because of what we experienced in 2016 at about 9:30 Eastern, right, when we all started to see the wall falling, but also because we know it's coming, right? And so I am horrified by my party's behavior right now. I don't even know what to say. It's just there. You're
where I was in 2016 and Republicans were not pushing back against Trump. I mean, I was a never Trumper from the beginning, and I was screaming from the rooftops, like, what are you guys doing? Like, the party's going to wake up and they're eventually going to tell this guy to kick rocks. Like, we're not going to put up with this. This isn't what we believe. This guy's but no, it never happened. Here we are. What 9 years later?
Even at your convention. So Rena Shah, who is on our advisory committee, she's senior advisor for the Seneca Project. She was the first delegate to come out against him.
Yep.
Right. There was an active, part of the Republican Party that was working it. Remember, Ted Cruz came out on stage.
I was there.
Right. I mean, and then they had Paul Manafort as the campaign manager at that point. I remember watching one of those interviews with him where just craziness. I think they had asked him about Russia or something. He couldn't put, a sentence together.
Yeah, because he was on the payroll and he was influenced to talk about the platform in 2016. The only thing that changed was the Ukraine and the platform. And he was so on the take for Russia, but no, it was a made up story. It was crazy.
So he leaves, and then Corey Lewandowski's running the campaign, and then he leaves, and then it's Kellyanne Conway, and then comes the grab him by the tape and is family programming. And so, it's just.
And yet, the point is, Republicans stuck with them.
Yeah.
And that's way worse than anything that's going on with Biden. Way worse. I just don't, I don't know. I'm sorry.
I know. And there's a lot of, I think there's a clip in particular that's making the rounds right now of JD Vance. I don't know. I think back then, right?
The original Never Trumper. But go ahead.
The OG Never Trumper, talking about Trump and that he, his disdain for him, right? That's making rounds.
I remember.
And I think part of that, right? I think we can all agree is because he's on the short list to be vice president. And there was a scoop today that Donald Trump Jr. is
going to intro him
speak right before the vice president is supposed to come out, which people think that is indicating that JD Vance is going to be the pick because Don Jr. has been his biggest supporter and cheerleader. I don't know.
I have a theory that it's not going to be any of them. I don't think it's going to be any of them.
I think it's going to be at least Stefanik, but
I agree with you. Because look, this has always been about the pomp and circumstance. Donald Trump gets off on the idea of it being a cross between, the Hunger Games and The Bachelor here. And it's all about the ratings and the anticipation but he has professionals running his campaign this time around. This is not Lewandowski and the
Wiles.
That's right. Chris LaCivita and Susie Wiles are killer, very experienced political operatives in the Republican Party. There's no way that they are sitting here letting us. They're not going to have a show. I mean, maybe I could be wrong. But my theory is it's not going to be any one of them because anyone who thinks that Doug Burgum is on the short list, get the hell out of here. This guy.
Sam the Eagle. That's what I call him.
I mean, come on. And then Marco Rubio. Again, Marco Rubio is like the Mitt Romney of this, where, how they just debase themselves thinking that they're going to come back. That's right.
Every time.
There's no way. Plus, they're from the same state. So who's going to give up? So Marco Rubio is going to give up his residency.
Right.
It's not happening. Marco Rubio doesn't bring anything to the table.
And Elise Stefanik, while in New York, right? I mean, Donald Trump's not going to win New York, but she is the most effective and powerful fundraiser in the party.
Yes.
And she has been by his side, has not said a bad word.
First one to endorse him.
And listen, she's playing the game. She's been playing the long game for a long time. A friend of mine, Tedra Cobb, ran against Elise Stefanik 2 times. And it was not, I think you could be Jesus Christ himself and not win in that district, right? Against really any Republican. But that district in particular has it was purple at one time, but it's solid red now. But I remember she came to me after 2020, I think we had a meeting in 2021. She gave me a call and she's like, Michelle, everybody needs to prepare themselves because she's coming. And I think that there's a very good chance she's going to be the pick and people need to start banging the drum now on her And I think they did to an extent, but like, you know, there's so many distractions and there's like a million things. But, you know, I just think it's going to be her. I mean,
and she's been really quiet, like uncharacteristically quiet.
Right.
And that, you know, I also heard that there are people that Trump didn't like when people were too anxious, trying too hard. Of course, because he looks at that and he sees and he goes, you know, he has no respect for that. He has no respect for that. And he uses the term killers a lot, right? And she is. She is. So she completely changed her entire persona. She used to be, she was the youngest Republican woman ever elected. She went to Harvard. She was considered a moderate, an up-and-comer, like sane Republican. So was Nancy Mace. She was supposed to be another one of those, part of that. And look at what they have done. They've turned themselves into these MAGA fembots for power. And you know, Harvard kicked her right. Harvard kicked Elise off the Kennedy School Institute of Politics board. It was the semester after I was up there. And my friend Alice Stewart, rest in peace, Alice, I miss her already. She replaced Elise on that board in that role. But she's been planning this. She can sniff the White House because she figures if I do all this, I debase myself, I play the role, the first to come out and endorse Trump in his second go around here before anybody else did, when everybody was flocking to DeSantis. She was like, I am MAGA, you know. And it was like, oh my God, she's gotten, you know, she's lost a little weight, got the little Fox treatment going on.
The lashes, she's working it.
That's right. She's been preparing herself.
Yes. And if I were in Trump world, right, if I were Donald Trump, which I'm obviously not, I would see somebody like her and think, yes, she loves me. Yes, she's going to do everything I ask her to do. But who's to say
she's not going to knife him?
Wouldn't stab me in the back to get first in line.
Right. I think that's the only thing that's stopping them is that she's a little bit too ambitious.
Crafty. She's crafty.
Right. I mean, but then that's where you go back to the sycophant. So I don't know. This is our running theory, folks. Maybe not. But we'll see. I mean, we'll know in a couple days. The anticipation will be over. We'll know by Monday. So, I mean, I had been to 6 Republican conventions in my lifetime, and the last one I went to was Cleveland, and I was nauseous the entire time. I couldn't believe what was happening. I literally cried in the stands as Donald Trump was being coronated. And I said, this is the end. I can't believe this is happening. What is happening? And this was before he won the election. But I saw the death of my party starting there, that I just could not believe what I was witnessing. And you couldn't pay me to go to a Republican convention now. Plus, I would need security because I'm an apostate and they would try to, you know, do God knows what to me because I've spoken out. But it's, I don't know. We'll see. Next week is going to be something. It's going to be something. And I don't know what's going to happen in Biden world, and the fact that the media has been fixated on this for 2 weeks and they have not been talking about what's happening in Trump world and with the Republicans giving them another 2 weeks of free pass. I mean, the New York Times came out with an op-ed today about how Trump is unfit for office. You know what? Screw you. A little late for that. You already did the damage on the other side, going after Biden first. You think maybe the Trump is unfit for office and a threat to our democracy a little more important than doing it the day right after Biden's debate performance? You couldn't even give him a day to make, you know, to get it back together, because you know what we did the next day? Biden went to North Carolina. He had a hell of a rally, had the rally of his life. He looked good. He was on point. And we decided to make sure people saw that. You know, that's resilience. That's what America's about. That's what President Biden's about. It's part of his character, right? Yeah. He said, when you knock me down, I get back up. He said, I give you my word as a Biden. You know, the character difference, there is just no comparison. And yet, I don't know, but he's old. Right. Let's show folks what we put out. I call it American resilience. Michelle calls it fight back, but it's got the same concept.
Yeah, roll it.
I know I'm not a young man.
It was a rough night for President Biden. A lackluster performance.
I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to.
Sometimes things don't go the way you want.
But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
A rousing speech. He was very forceful.
An energized president.
We're going to stand up for the women of America. We're going to restore Roe v. Wade's the law of the land.
Also a very strong series of attacks on his contender.
Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. Donald Trump is a one-man crime wave. Donald Trump will destroy our democracy. I will defend it. Folks, I give you my word as a Biden, I would not be running again if I didn't believe with all my heart and soul I can do this job. Let's go get him.
I mean,
it still gives me the goosebumps.
I know.
And yet here we are. You know, there's reports coming out that more Democrats may come out tomorrow asking Biden to step aside. And I think this is folly. I really do. I just think this is folly. This is risky. It's logistically really impractical. I've been saying this for a week and a half now, talking to my Democratic friends that know how the convention works. I mean, I know how the Republicans do it. You all have a whole different, more complicated system with super delegates and this and that. Oh my God, it's a whole thing. And it's like herding cats. And I just don't see how the Democrats, they weren't unified 100% behind President Biden before the debate.
I mean, Democrats have a pretty hard time unifying about pretty much everything.
It's that the history ain't great for this.
No.
So it makes me very nervous. And Biden has not demonstrated that he isn't capable of doing the job. A couple of bad stumbles here and there, but the country's not in turmoil. Last time I checked, we're doing pretty damn good, actually.
Yeah.
Despite what the media is trying to tell people, we're the number one economy in the world. We're the number one energy producers. Inflation is coming down, record-setting job growth. The stock market's through the roof. Gas prices aren't crazy. Like, we're in pretty damn good shape under President Biden's leadership and all of the bipartisan legislation he's gotten passed, despite the craziness going on in the Hill. But again, that's not the story that's being told. And it's really frustrating because the average voter is going, it's baked in that he's old. But they look at Donald Trump and they say, we don't want that.
Right. And then you have people like Stacey Abrams, who's like waving her arms, being like, don't do this. Right. Jasmine Crockett from Texas has been doing the same thing.
Yes, my girl.
Right. Yeah, we love her.
I love her.
A lot of people with common sense understand that the base of the party is not going to move away from him. But if we do, we are ushering in chaos and calamity and a very big possibility that we're just going to hand it right over to Donald Trump. I think it's insane. And every day that we are not spending kicking Donald Trump's ass is a day that we're losing.
That's right.
A day wasted.
That's right. And there's something in the hottest commodity, the most valuable commodity in political campaigns besides money is time.
That's right.
Is time. And we are, 17 weeks from the election, but we're only 80 plus days from when the first ballots start going out because now we have early voting in some states. So we cannot fuck around here. Okay. Like, this is not time to do this. So it's, I get it. Like, I get it. This is a year ago. Okay, well, maybe we can have those conversations, but It's not. And 14 million Democrats voted in the primary and chose Joe Biden. Me too. I'm not a Democrat, but I vote in the Democratic primaries in Virginia because I will never vote for a Republican again.
I didn't vote for Dean Phillips.
Right. That's right. Right.
Or Marianne Williamson.
Yeah. No. And it's not. And people who say, just for the people who say, well, there wasn't a competitive primary, blah, blah. You almost never have a competitive primary when you have an incumbent president because the power of incumbency is a huge advantage. Right. So that's a bunch of bullshit too. People saying that about, oh, well, we didn't really have choices. Stop it. Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, it's a good segue to talk about a little bit about the press conference tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Biden, and in the comments, I see you guys were talking about it a little earlier, and we're going to take a couple of your questions. So if you have some questions, throw them in the comments because I can see them. I figured out how to see them. All these years on StreamYard, I had no idea. I know it was my boomer moment.
Yeah, Tara texted me. She's like, "Do you know that we can see people's comments?" I'm like, "You don't say."
Because I'm always hosting, so I don't have time to look at the right. Somebody's got to drive the bus, but this time it's a little bit different because it's important that I want to make sure that we answer your questions. But yes, that is a true story. Like an hour and a half ago, I said to Michelle, "Oh my God, I can see the
laughing so hard."
Anyway, so the presser tonight, I will admittedly say I had agita for hours leading up to this, like just so much agita because I know there was so much writing on this for President Biden, and he really had a great week at NATO, which you wouldn't know because he's old. That's all we heard all week. But he had a great week at NATO, representing our country with honor and distinction, emphasizing the importance of supporting our NATO allies and that relationship. It's critically important. And no major stumbles. I mean, yes, he mixed up the name Putin. Okay, so what? I mix up names all the time. I call Biden Trump, Trump Biden. I mean, stop. Like it happens to the best of us. And he has a stutter. So like people need to stop fixating on that. But tonight in the press conference, I actually thought he did really well. I thought he did really well. Did you lose me?
Oh, sorry. No, are you there? Sorry. My laptop just went from daytime to nighttime. And
okay. I was like, what happened? I thought he did really well. I would give him like an A-, B+, A-.
Yeah.
I thought he did what he had to do. He had a command of the issues, especially on foreign policy. That's his wheelhouse. You see him. I mean, Donald Trump couldn't rattle off all of that. No, complex dynamics.
He would stop to smell the roses and tell us about the poem that he wrote for Kim Jong-un or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but they asked President Biden a question about, I don't know, something. There was a lot of questions.
Yeah.
He can speak to these foreign policy issues like no one else because he spent decades in the Senate dealing with this. And then 2 terms as vice president, he knows this better than anybody. He has the relationships with the foreign leaders.
Yep.
And he doesn't, it's a low bar, I guess, after Donald Trump, but he doesn't embarrass us. And he also doesn't put us in danger. And I think the question is, who do you feel safer with Joe Biden behind the desk in the Oval Office, or do you feel safer with Donald Trump, who has said recently, to Putin, hey, you guys can do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Do whatever the hell you want, Putin.
Do whatever the hell you want. I don't have to do what NATO says. We're going to pull out of NATO.
That's the first thing he's going to do. People need to understand that. Foreign policy is one of the main jobs of the president of the United States. I say this all the time. We focus more on domestic policy issues, right? Because it affects us on a day-to-day basis more so. But there's a lot of layers when it comes to domestic policy. The president can't just wave a wand. Well, not now. If Trump comes in, he's going to do whatever the hell he wants. Project 2025 is going to give all of these imperial powers to the president, and the Supreme Court seems to be fine with that. Let's not forget that. But the foreign policy is one of the jobs where the president has a lot of unilateral power in that. And so, one of the first things he'll do is pull us out of NATO. Their NATO allies are talking about what's the contingency plan in case Trump gets back in. They're scared to death.
Right.
They're going to have to defend themselves, which is insane. That's not what this is America. We defend our allies. This is a 75-year partnership that is unbreakable, and it needs to be unbreakable, because if we're not there anymore, we're going to let Putin's going to run roughshod over Europe. And then you're going to have a new axis of evil. It's going to be Putin, North Korea, and Iran, and China, or Iran, depending on what happens there. But this is unthinkable from that perspective. And and what happens to Ukraine? Ukraine will get crushed, and then you lose democracy. So I just don't understand why this is not a bigger story. And the fact that Donald Trump at his rally this week talked about his performance, because these rallies is all they are. They're like these Vegas lounge acts that he does. And he's talking about, I didn't know what NATO was. It took me 2 minutes to figure it out. And it's like, shut up, you ignoramus. Like, shut up. And the people think that this is okay.
Yeah. He's proud of not knowing. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
poorly educated.
He just doesn't care. And he's like, no one's going to make me care. I'm 78 years old, however old he is, 77. Again, not a young man either.
Right.
And has spent his whole life just not knowing things. And why would he start now?
And failing up his whole life and making people who also pride themselves on being ignorant feel as though they're heard now. He is the spokesperson for ignoramuses in this country. And people are running around talking about, I'm voting for the felon.
Right.
There's something fundamentally wrong with this. Like,
it's Tom
fundamentally
Nichols,
wrong.
Tom Nichols says the death of expertise, right?
Yes, he does. Our favorite national curmudgeon.
Yes, very
correct.
Very
but also at the presser tonight, I think President Biden showed passion where he needed to. And it's funny, I come from a political communications background. So of course I'm watching everything. I'm watching the stagecraft and I'm like, okay, he looks good. This is good. I don't know why Biden does the whisper thing at that drives me crazy. Yeah, like, it's not gonna happen. I was like, no, not the whisper thing.
Trademark move, though.
I know it is. Somebody told him somewhere along the line that was good, but I suspect that Dr. Biden, our first lady, is like, Joe, you got to stop with the whisper thing. It's not sexy. I don't like it. Like, it's not okay. Project your voice, as my choir teacher used to say.
And he's about to do it
because he leans in
with his shoulders.
Right.
Looks around.
Right. Right. It's a thing for him. And I'm like, oh God. But then the other part where I was like, just end it, was when he said, this is the last question. And then he was like, oh no, I'm going to take two more. I was like, no. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Take only one.
Like the last question, right?
It was, and it wasn't horrible, but like,
it was pretty good.
But he could have ended it on a much stronger note, because the question before that is when he was like impassioned and he was like going on and on. I think we have a clip.
Yeah,
we have a clip of that. Let's play that.
Yeah,
should have ended it.
I know.
Control guns, not girls. I mean, the idea we're sitting around, this where Kamala's so good as well. We're sitting around. More children are killed by the bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing? We got a candidate saying, promise the NRA, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything. You got a Supreme Court that is what you might call the most conservative court in American history. This is ridiculous. There's so much we can do still. And I'm determined to get it done. It's about freedom.
And he continued on, and I was like, yes. Yeah. And I was like, I wish there was a way you could just like cut the mic. Thank you very much. God bless and good night. God bless America. And that was it.
Exactly.
But you know what? Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I love when he gets like that, because it's like the scrappy Scranton Joe Biden. And I think that, as we talk about what's at stake for women, right? I think about the mothers that I know who live in the suburbs, dropping their kids off at school. And there's always that, I hope I see them later today. And, I'm 42 years old. Columbine happened when I was in high school. And I don't know anyone who isn't in some way touched by a mass shooting. Whether it be, a friend or, a family member or something like that. Between my husband and I, we have like many degrees of, between Virginia Tech and Sandy Hook, and people. And it is in the back of everyone's mind. And, I'm in a group chat with my husband's friends, and they talk about it too. There's like, I drop my daughter off at school every day. This is something I think about. And listen, these aren't people who are like, I hate guns. These are people, whatever. But it really is about safety and freedom to drop your kid off at school and feel like they're going to get home in one piece. And so I'm really glad you talked about that, because I do know, just in my life, in my circle, this is something that a lot of moms are talking about. And, it's really pretty far up. And this is independent right of center women too.
Yeah. Yes. I think the gun issue since Sandy Hook, really, I mean, it should have been before that, but we're gun owners in my household, and we're responsible gun owners, and the majority of the American people who are gun owners are responsible gun owners.
Right.
But there is a problem. We have a problem in this country, from our terrible mental health system to the accessibility to guns where people shouldn't have them.
Right.
It's just there are problems, and it's okay to acknowledge that. It doesn't mean, there's
it's not all or nothing, right? And that's the thing.
Zero sum.
Right.
It's not zero sum, especially after Parkland and Uvalde and Sandy Hook. Like, it's just, there has not been a common sense approach to this in a long time. And, but it impacts people to the point where, like you said, I mean, I'm 48 years old, and I could not imagine going to school and having to do drills, active shooter drills. I mean,
and it's a real part of kids' lives now.
Yeah, that's like, I can't imagine that. When I was a kid, it was like the best when the school bus used to come to our playground, and we would jump out of the back of the school bus as a drill in case, like, I don't know, there was a flood. I don't know what that was supposed to do.
Oh, I remember those.
Remember that, right?
Oh, remember the exit, and you go out the back door.
Right, you go jump out the back. Like, that was like, woo. I mean, that was about the extent of it. Okay. For my mom, it was duck and cover because of, our mom's generation, because of threat of nuclear war, but which duck and cover wasn't going to do anything. But anyway, so, I mean, when Joe Biden talks like that to the American people, he's coming from a place where it's relatable. He's Uncle Joe from Scranton. You see, when he starts talking about his dad and like how he grew up, you see like a change in him. He has so much reverence and respect for the average hardworking middle-class American, because he saw what his dad did and how his father struggled to take care of his family. And he came from a large family, and they were very close. And for him, like, he reveres the American dream. He reveres the office of the presidency, unlike that other MFer who shits all over the office of the presidency.
And he got everything handed to him his entire
everything, his whole life.
And he understand.
No, he hates everything that makes America great. It bothers me when he says "make America great again," because that bastard hates everything that makes America great. And Joe Biden loves everything that makes America great. And that contrast in and of itself, it should be enough for people to reject Donald Trump in favor of Joe Biden. Like, it bugs me. It really does.
Yeah.
We have another clip, I think, from the conference tonight too. Let's play that one.
Sorry. There we go.
Presidency is the most straining job in the world, and it's 24/7. How can you say you'll be up for that next year, in 2 years, in 4 years, given the limits you've acknowledged that you have today?
The limits I've acknowledged I have?
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true. Look, what I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. And I said, for example, the 8, 7, 6 stuff, instead of starting a fundraiser at 9 o'clock, start at 8 o'clock. People get to go home by 10 o'clock. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, and if you look at my schedule since I made that stupid mistake in the campaign, in the debate, I mean, my schedule has been full bore. I've done, where's Trump been? Riding around in his golf cart, filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball? I mean, look, he's done virtually nothing.
I mean,
where's the lie? Where's the lie?
No, filling out the scorecard before.
It's true, though. It's been widely reported.
Right. I mean, everybody that in the PGA who doesn't like him and tells the truth has said this.
Yes. And it bothers Trump. So that's why I'm glad that Biden keeps hitting him on that, because Trump brags about his golf game and all the time, which sucks. And
he was on True Social the other day challenging, was it Kamala or somebody? He was challenging people to play golf with him. I'm like, dude, Stop.
Yeah, like stop it. Stop
also,
it.
like, I like golf. Like, it's fine. But what is the obsession? I don't understand.
I know. Well, it's supposed to be a game of discipline and technique and like honor, right? Because you drop the little ball wherever, like there's an honor system, and it's like everything that Donald Trump is not. Everything he's not.
He picks up the ball and throws it down the fairway, and like,
it's just I can't. But that was, I thought it was a good answer, because I was thinking, and you know, we joke about our ages, but you know, you're on Instagram and we send each other the memes all the time about like, if something starts after 9 o'clock, we're not going. I'm 48. I'm not 80. So
I'm tired.
I don't do anything after.
I tried to nap at 4 so that I could do this.
My husband's in bed. Okay, he has to go to work tomorrow. He's in bed by 9 o'clock. He has to be up at 4 a.m. Like, this is not abnormal. And I told you this, and you tweeted it, and it went viral, and you were like, please help me.
Oh, God.
George W. Bush went to bed notoriously at 9 o'clock. Yeah. He was in his 50s. He got up at 4:30. But he went to bed at 9. Nobody was worrying about, oh my God, what happens to, if something happens at 3 a.m., he's not going to be. So this whole thing about Biden acknowledging that he's older, important. Self-deprecation is great. I wish he would have said, how many of you in here don't take naps? Like, you're probably tired now. Like this, like, don't think I'm the leader of the free world. I'm not going to apologize if I need to pace myself. Also, I wish he had a little more righteous indignation there, but
you'd think we would want these people to be rested.
Yes.
There is this kind of very American thing that we all do that's like, I only get 4 hours of sleep. I only get 5 hours of
sleep. I'm reading the comments. People are funny as hell. I'm 64. If I get groceries, I call it a day.
Saying I had a lunch meeting in Midtown today and it took everything out of me. Like, you know what I mean?
Listen, Michelle's not lying. She's not lying. She sent me a message and was like, yeah, I'm taking it. You called it a disco nap, which I thought was hilarious. I'm taking a disco nap. I'll be back. And I was like, go for it. There's nothing wrong with a nap.
Right.
Like, stop. I don't know. They're just
I just don't think it's anything to brag about being tired. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just like, get some sleep.
Listen, I give him credit. At 81 years old, there's a lot of people that could not handle half of the president's schedule, and that leads me to what happened toward the end of the presser, when I was still like, stop, please, no more questions. But when he started to walk off, and then he stopped because somebody yelled a question.
Yeah,
and they were saying about how he made the misstep of calling Vice President Harris Vice President Trump in the very beginning. And I was like, oh no. But he, look, again, he has a stutter. They asked him a question that had the names Trump and Harris in it. Right. Any one of us could have made that mistake. It's not a big deal. And then they went back to that. And then they asked him like, well, Trump is already capitalizing on this already, blah, blah, blah. What do you say to him? And he goes, just listen to him.
Right.
And walked off.
He was walking and then kind of came back and put his arm on the thing and went, listen to him. And then he
listened to him and walked off. Did his little stiff walk, right?
Oh, his little shuffle.
But I was like, yes, that was a nice drop the mic moment. And I was like, thank God. Because like I said, the political communicator in me, I was like, oh God, no. Oh my God, this could go really bad. Just walk off, please. My husband was making fun of me because I was like yelling. And but when he stopped and I was like, yes. And then that was that. I don't know if this is gonna stop the tsunami of people that are coming out now. Like I said, the bedwetting and all of this. The punditry inside the Beltway class is really pissing me off. And they're creating this crisis.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have not seen polling that has shown the bottom falling out as far as real voters in the states, not people in the Beltway, Acela corridor from New York to DC, or people who are in the Obama administration that have to stick up their ass about Joe Biden and always have, and have a political motive because they want to be relevant or heard or whatever. This is not a joke. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. But I just think that people need to really take a step back, think about the consequences of making this switch. I've been saying this over and over and over again. It is not going to be easy. Biden is a known quantity. The Biden-Harris ticket is a known quantity. It's been vetted.
Right.
There are, we're playing with fire here, people. We're playing with fire. Look, for us at the Seneca Project, our mission does not change. Our mission is still to target women, to make sure they understand what's at stake in this election, talking to people in the battleground states where this will be won. It doesn't matter. I don't care if my cat Tiki is at the top of the ticket and your cat Sterling is his VP.
He's ready.
They're ready to go. They're ready. And they're well-dressed. They're tuxedo cats. So they look good at the state dinners.
Exactly.
We don't give a damn who it is on the Democratic side. We are supporting the Democratic ticket because the unthinkable would happen on the other side. Target lists, retribution, concentration camps, this jackass talking about public executions, all of these things. It's the handmaid's
firing squads. I mean, Trump has talked openly about how he wants to bring back firing squads.
Yeah, because he's sick. He's obsessed with Hannibal Lecter and like fake, fictitious serial killers. I mean, this is nutso, but no one's calling for him to step down. He's a felon. He's stolen national security secrets. He despises democracy. And yet the mainstream media and the punditry class is not fully explaining what's at stake here and explaining the complexities if they switch. Now, I'll be the first to say that if Joe Biden falters again the way he did at the debate, I get it. But in the last 2 weeks, he has not. He has not. And he, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. But all I know is that whatever happens, people need to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't win. We have to, at all costs, because literally we are staring down the barrel of losing our democracy here. And if Donald Trump wins,
and once it's gone, it's gone. Like
that's right.
The thing I think. But well, in 4 years, no, he's not gonna leave.
Correct. That is correct.
He's not going to leave.
No,
and we have a constitution.
He wants to get rid of it.
Right. And who's going to stop him?
That's the point too.
Stop him.
That's the point. People are not thinking about this. He's going to surround himself with people in his administration that will be willing accomplices. The guardrails worked last time because they were good and decent people that said no. That's what Project 2025 is about. They're vetting thousands of people so that they're loyalists, so they won't tell him no.
Right.
This is what we're facing. Like, I don't understand it. Why this is not more front page news, leading the nightly news every night. They should be breaking down every aspect of the 1,000 pages of Project 2025 so that the American people freaking understand it. We're going to do that. That's part of what we're doing. That's why we have a campaign. Yep. That's why, for the Seneca Project, obviously we are focused more on women. But the idea, though, is we have to save our democracy. Anything that is a threat to our democracy. And this is, it's going to take all of us, right? We say together we can win. It's going to take all of us to do this. Right. So let's take a couple questions while we have it. It's going to happen for a while, and we promised that we would take questions.
I know we were like, oh, we'll go 30 minutes.
We'll go 35 minutes. Oh yeah, we're at 52 minutes and we're ripping and running. Somebody said Black Cat plays Tiki and Sterling. Yes, Tiki and Sterling 2024. Laura Harris, why do we need to win by big margins?
I put this on the screen too.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry. Kim Mayer, is this show on every week? Well, we intend on doing this show every week. We would like to, schedule permitting, but we would like to make this a regular thing. So yes, we on Thursdays, probably 8:00, because I always say in the summer, most people are still outside because it's light out at 7. So we're looking, if you guys like it, I think we'll keep doing it because the stakes are only going to get higher with each week. So that is our intention.
Yep. Where's the question that you're seeing? Click on it. You should be able to click on it.
Let's see. This is my boomer moment. Here we go. I found it. Laura Harris. Why do we need to win by large margins? A win is a win. We have to go out and vote in big quantities of people. Yes, I agree. Yes, this is the thing. All you need is 50 plus 1, right? That's campaigns. That's always what we talk about. Is it great to kick ass and win by double digits? That's lovely. But it doesn't matter whether you win by 30 or whether you win by 0.5. Well, now sometimes there's a recount. 50 plus 1. That's what you need. And in this instance, the reason why we're saying we need big margins is because we can't risk it. And MAGA has to be vanquished because we saw what they did last time, and they're already gearing up to litigate the hell out of this election. They are lining up lawyers and recruiting and training people to be election observers, where they're really going to be disruptors. Yeah. So it needs to be definitive. That's why we need to make sure everyone plus 10 more of your family and friends need to go out and vote like your life depends on it.
Yep.
Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Do you see one, Michelle? You want to grab?
Looking. Not that one. Can we ask a question in the chat? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Go in the chat. The chat's like going so fast. That's why I'm trying to like.
This is a good question. This is a good question.
Yeah. Does anyone think that if the election is close, SCOTUS will give it to Trump? Like as in the 2000 Bush v. Gore type of situation? I have no faith in this current Supreme Court. I never in my life thought I would say that. It hurts me as an institutionalist, but God forbid this goes to the Supreme Court. Look what they just did with presidential immunity, which is insane. So, the answer I think is yes. So let's make it so it doesn't get there. How about that? That's my goal. That's our goal. We don't want it to go there. We can't. No one is going to save us but us.
I'm putting this one up here just because I agree.
Yeah, read it. What does it say?
Tara, you rocked on MSNBC when you were on. There's a couple times when you were on Katie Fang, but then the other one when you were on with Adam Frisch from Colorado. That poor guy.
Yeah. I haven't had to drag anyone in a long time on cable news because, my CNN days, it was basically a nightly occurrence because of all the MAGAs I had to deal with over there and set them straight. But that guy, I'm sorry, but it took everything in me not to say to him. Adam Frisch was the guy that ran for Congress against Lauren Boebert and lost in Colorado. I was on a panel with him and David Corn from Mother Jones on Sunday night. And Adam Frisch was going on and on about we should have a blitz primary and we should have some town halls. And there's plenty of time for Biden to get out and get new slate of candidates. And I was just like, no, there isn't. And I'm like, I'm sorry, how are you going to raise all the money? Because if it's not Kamala Harris, if he steps aside, it has to be Kamala Harris because she's the only one that can keep the money because of campaign finance laws. And it costs billions of dollars to run for president. You have what? A month and a half to start raising that money? Yeah, get the fuck out of here. He was just so ridiculous with what he was saying. And it took everything in me not to say to him, I'm sorry, unlike you, Joe Biden's actually won multiple elections.
Yeah.
He's not going to take words. He's not going to take advice from you, Mr. I drove 57,000 miles all over Colorado. And the biggest thing I've ever done was be like the Aspen City Council member. Shut up.
Amen. Well, you are a candidate, so we would expect you that you would be driving that much around.
I was like, no. Anyway, but thank you. It got a rise in me because he had no credibility. But thank you. I appreciate it.
You sit down, Mr. Frisch. That's funny. I don't think I can stop with the mission. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just seeing there's lots of comments, but I'm trying
I know. And they're going really fast.
I worry. I'm gonna try to find. Okay, that's a good question.
Michigan citizens voted gerrymandering out and popular vote in which changed redistricting. I worry that Republicans are trying to find ways to rig votes. How do we win Michigan again? So this is a good point. People forget that every state has their own set of rules for elections. We do not have a national election. That's why national polls actually don't mean shit. Every state, the Secretary of State, and some states have elected supervisors of elections by county. Like every state has a different thing. In my home state of New Jersey, party bosses determine the order of candidates on ballots. It's a dirty business. Okay. I am not as familiar with the inner workings of how Michigan works, but getting rid of gerrymandering is great. The concept in and of itself is great. But I know from over the years, redistricting has been a huge political fight. Many states, that was done by the state legislatures. So I would always say, people, pay attention to who your state and local representatives are, because they pass laws and regulations that impact your daily life every day, from the speed limits in your towns to your millage rates to your access to abortion in your states. Like a lot of these things happen on a state and local level. They also draw your congressional districts. And then that became a real big political fight. Then some states started to change that. Like California decided, we're going to have an independent commission. And that seems to have worked for the most part in California. That has gotten rid of gerrymandering. But then you have states like in New York and others, or Pennsylvania, where you have these commissions, and then there's like an issue and they get sued, and then it goes to the court and they got to redo. So what I would say to this is, anytime that you have an opportunity to get rid of gerrymandering and make it more fair, people need to do that and work within the system. Gina, if you, there are usually people that have groups where you can sign petitions, get involved to make sure that you have an election system that works for you and empowers the voters. Anything that doesn't empower the voter, anything that promotes voter suppression isn't a good thing. So, and I know in Michigan, you guys came really close. You had one guy on that commission in Michigan that was under a lot of pressure not to certify that election. And I forget his name now. It started with a V, I think. He did the right thing. Thank God for that. We don't want him to come down that close. So, get involved in Michigan. That's how you do it.
This is just Nancy from Paramus.
From Paramus, New Jersey. Oh my gosh, my hometown. Yes, go Paramus.
With you.
I'm so happy about this. Thank you, Tara, for fighting to protect our rights. Go girl. Nancy from Paramus. My son graduated with you. Oh my gosh. Please tell him I said hello. There were only 263 people on my graduating class.
I was going to ask how many people were in your graduating class.
263, I think, if I remember correctly, way back in 1993.
I mean,
go Spartans.
That's not nothing.
Thank you for that. That makes my day. I love my hometown.
Donors. Okay, this is a good question too. I don't know about this.
How can we keep the funding with all the naysaying and donors putting out op-eds? Can we get some donors to put out, I'm in it to win it? I wish we had that power. This is part of the problem. This is part of the problem. The donor class taking their ball and going home because we hit a little adversity here is not a good thing. It's not. They need to remember that you're investing in democracy. You're investing in the future of our democracy. Right. Not just one person. Just one person. It's an administration. It's a system. That's what you're investing in. Same thing with us. Like as our organization, when you donate to us, we're a political PAC. You are investing in our mission to help galvanize women to save our freaking democracy. It doesn't matter. It's not about individuals. It's about the outcome of making sure that Donald Trump and MAGA don't win. I don't know what it's going to take for these people, because a lot of these people are arrogant because they feel like it's not going to impact them. Whatever happens.
And it might not. I mean, that's the thing is like that it's really bugging me right now is, well, for some, but a lot of the people that we're hearing from in the media, you know, maybe some podcasters that I won't mention. It's the people who have the least amount to lose that have the most to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, George Clooney has a beautiful house on Lake Como where he lives with his wife and his children. So if things got really bad here, I mean, I think he spends a lot of his time there anyways, just picks up and goes there and like, I'm fine. Right. I mean, people like us, we don't have the means to like pick up and move our lives to another part of the world.
Yeah.
Most people don't.
No.
You know, and not to mention just fleeing to another country also is just not easy anyways. I mean, it's
and there's something inherently wrong with that too. This is America. This is our country. You're not gonna fucking run me out of my own country because you guys have decided that you want to turn it into some fascist hellhole. No, I'm sorry. That's not America. That is not America. And I'm through hell or high water, we're going to fight until the bitter end to make sure that we don't have to make that choice. If I go to Italy and I buy property there, it's because I wanted to, and my husband and I worked hard and we went and bought a property in Italy. It's my favorite place in the world anyway, got married there, but we're going there for positive reasons, not because we're fleeing our country because we're persecuted. No, they don't get to do that. And that's what we're facing. That's what we are facing in this election. And as Americans, that other side, those traitorous bastards, do not get to co-opt patriotism and run us out. No, I say no, not no, but hell no. So I think on that note,
Yeah.
Michelle, would you like to say something before we show our first ad? Because I think everyone should see it if they haven't seen it as we conclude.
I have a couple things to say. Number one, just on the note of patriotism and not being run out of our country. I think that there's this aversion that a lot of liberals and Democrats have about the flag and patriotism and all these things. And I don't know really where it originated. Maybe in the beginning parts of the Iraq war, where it was like put a boot in your ass was kind of like the vibe, and people weren't vibing with that. But I think that we have to take that back, because this is our country too. And this all belongs to us. And, Tara and I are very different. We come from different sides of the aisle, politically and maybe ideologically, in some ways at least.
We're not.
I know we're not. But I do think that we have more in common than not. And so, I talk about this a lot with Tara, is that, I'm a member of the DAR. I have ancestors who fought in the American Revolution, all the way up to World War II and Korea. And so, veterans and sacrifice, and that it's a big part of my family's history, because, we're both, off the boat from Ireland, but also have been here a really long time. And so I really, really cherish that part of our history, because it cannot all have been for nothing.
That's right.
We are a very young country, and people have sacrificed so much to make sure that we're here and we get to enjoy these things. And we're not a perfect country. There's a lot of stuff that's really messed up, right? But it's pretty damn good in comparison to a lot of places. It's a very special place. And it's a work in progress. And all of this cannot have been for nothing. And so I say that with women's rights, especially, and how far we've come in the last 100 years. It blows my mind sometimes to look at the timeline to see what women didn't have as recent as the 80s and 90s, right? I mean, the things that you can't even imagine. You're like, wait, what? That was illegal?
It was crazy.
Right. And so, I think about all that and the work that we're doing, and, we're a very small team here. And why I say team, it's really like Tara, me, and like a couple other people really just kind of doing
for now, as we build, we're young, we're building.
We've only been live for 3 weeks. But, we're making ads. We have a really wonderful production team. We have a couple groups that are, friends of mine, people I've worked with, former colleagues, who are making ads with us, helping write ads, produce them. And everyone really cares so much about what we're doing, because it's so important. And so
it's nice to have so many people
so
invested and care and doing it for the right reasons. Yes.
And like this mission that we're on here at the Seneca Project is not a means to an end or a way to win. It's personal for us. It's life or death. And it we're in it for the long haul. This is going to be a generational fight for all of us.
Yep.
And so, as much as, we need to raise money, obviously it's kind of the yucky part of all of this. We have to raise money to be able to do things and to be able to staff up. But we also need to raise money to make sure that people see our ads, because we want to make sure that we're putting these ads and this content in front of the people, specifically in the battleground states that need to see it. Because we're making it for them as much as we are for everybody else. So
that's right.
And to Tara's point about making an investment in that really is what this is about, is we're investing in the present and in the future, because the past cannot have been for nothing. So with that said,
amen to that, Kinney.
With that said, I would love to show you our first ad. It's called A Time for Choosing, which is an homage to the famous Reagan speech that I didn't know existed a month and a half ago until Tara told me about it.
I love this story. We told it on MSNBC when we debuted it, because we're like the ebony and ivory of political teams. And Michelle was writing the script, and she said, I don't know if this is any good. But I said, this is really good. It's like a double entendre on the concept of choosing. I'm like, just like the famous Ronald Reagan speech, A Time for Choosing. And she was like, the what? I'm like, what do you mean you don't know the Ronald Reagan? She goes, I'm a Democrat. We don't sit around watching old Reagan speech.
Enough. We don't do that. We don't do that.
you know. But anyway, so she watched it. I said, oh my gosh, you have to watch it. So I sent it to her, and she said, and she had to admit that it was a really damn good speech. However you feel about Reagan, he was a great communicator.
But it was good. It was good.
It was good. And so we collaborated and wrote this together. I had never written a political ad before. I don't come from that part of the world. I come from more of the political communications part of it. And so, but we speak from the heart. And this is our debut ad, written by me and Michelle and no one else. And we had a great ad team that took our concept and made this wonderful ad, A Time for Choosing. And we hope you all enjoy it. And stay tuned. There's more to come from the Seneca Project.
We'll see you next week, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.
The Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and ended a woman's constitutional right to an abortion.
We trust women. There's a threat facing women in America that transcends party lines.
My country doesn't care about me.
And it's time we ask ourselves, do we still value the freedoms we have fought so hard for?
We should all have the care that we need.
This election is a choice, and it is a time for choosing. We're told we have to choose between left or right, but we know what the real choice is. It's a choice between our freedom or their control, between our right to determine our own destinies or Donald Trump. So seriously, America, what the hell are we doing? We can't sit on the sidelines while women in America suffer and die because a right we once had has now been criminalized. If we don't make the right choice, there's no state to escape to. There's no going back. Choosing who will shape our future is a right we still have left for now. And that choice is up to us.